Hey, everybody, welcome to Hearing God in Philippians chapter 1. And whenever we begin a brand new book, the first thing we need to do is take a moment just to talk about its background and its theme. And so, for the book of Philippians, the Apostle Paul is imprisoned. He's writing a letter of encouragement to a church that was very dear to his heart. The church at Philippi was the very first church that Paul planted in Asia. And you can read about this church in Acts chapter 16 verses 6 through 40, and its first convert, who was a woman named Lydia, who was a seller of purple goods. And so, again, Paul writes to them from prison. It prompted in part by a reception of a gift that came from a man named Epaphroditus. And so, in part, the letter to the Philippians is a thank you note, but it's also a letter of encouragement to them to spur them on in their faith. And I think what stands out to me right from the get go is here's the Apostle Paul imprisoned, and yet he is writing a letter of encouragement to the church at Philippi. And that goes right along with the verse that I chose in Philippians chapter 1 today. It is verse 14. It says, "And most of the brothers, having become confident in the Lord by my imprisonment, are much more bold to speak the word without fear." And I think what stands out to me about this is just how Paul's imprisonment, his perspective on it, first of all, that he didn't mope, he didn't complain. Rather, he looked at his imprisonment as an opportunity, and he's seeing the fruit of that opportunity. The opportunity that Paul sees in his imprisonment is for people to watch how he responds to this crisis in his life. And sure enough, as people watched and saw how Paul responded to the crisis, how he did it with much grace and with much confidence and with much faith and even joy in being imprisoned, sure enough, it says, most of the brothers have become confident in the Lord by my imprisonment and are much more bold to speak the word without fear. And so, even as you would think Paul is the one that needs the encouragement, and yet here he is being the encourager, and that's a great challenge to me. So as I moved on to the letter A, the application for me, do I see crisis and suffering as a unique opportunity for God to do something in me and through me, to be an example for others? Do I see hardship as an opportunity for God to show up and to make himself famous in me and through me, or do I see it just as, oh, I don't like it, and I'm going to groan and mumble, mumble, groan, I'm going to moan and grumble about the crisis that I'm facing. And just recently, as a pastor, I've seen some people going through some really difficult health crises in their lives, and I've seen the way that they've dealt with them, and I've seen God use those folks and with much grace and with much faith through that crisis, and it's been an encouragement to me. And again, I think I'm the one that should be encouraging them, and they're encouraging me. And so I see God. I see God in those opportunities. And in my own life, I want God to show up big and to help me to rise above the circumstance, to rise above the grumbling and complaining, and to actually allow God to use that situation for good. And so my response, Father, may I surrender every situation to you and look for the opportunity that it presents. May you receive all the glory for how I respond, especially in times of great crisis. And so I don't know where that finds you today. You yourself might be in a time of great hardship and suffering, and this in no way makes light of the suffering. The suffering is real, but at the same time, it also presents us with the question of how might God use that suffering as an opportunity to bring glory to Him, to point to others to Jesus, and for us to be an encouragement, even when it would seem that we are the ones who are most in need of the encouragement. So hopefully that's a challenge and an encouragement to you today. We're going to see many examples through the book of Philippians about how Paul, the one who's imprisoned, is actually the one who is the encourager. So have a great day.